Could Judas have been forgiven? The answer is no. And this is for several reasons. First off, Judas had a hand in killing the Son of God. The Son of God, the big guy, the Messiah, Jesus. Once you commit a big offense like that, God has no repentance for you. It's done. It's over. You can just go pack up and move to some other country because you have nothing to do with God's people anymore. That's why Judas killed himself in Matthew chapter 27, verse 5, before he could even try to seek for forgiveness. There was simply no turning back. To explain this, Jesus told the parable of the husbandmen in Matthew chapter 21, verses 33 to 46. We all know that story. There was this master who had a land that he was renting out to people, and he said, "Hey, I need to see what is happening to those crops." So he sent messengers out to find those crops and see how everything was doing. But then they were killed by the renters. So he sent some more messengers, and they were killed by the renters. And then he said, "Okay, I'll send my son. They'll listen to my son, right?" But then they went and killed him because they thought, "Hey, if we kill this guy, then we can take over." But what did this master do? He said, "I'm going to kill all those guys and make them pay." Jesus told us that the Pharisees were the husbandmen, God was the master, and Jesus himself was the master's son. And the messengers were just the prophets. Before he was killed, therefore, Jesus used this parable to show how the Pharisees would be destroyed with no mercy. Secondly, Judas was used by Satan. As it was said in Luke, "Then entered Satan into Judas, surnamed Iscariot, being of the number of the 12. Luke chapter 22, verse 3. We can also look at John chapter 6, verses 70 to 71. We know that Satan isn't repentant, or else he would have stopped his attack after being released in Revelation chapter 20, verses 7 to 8. He would have enjoyed his freedom and then saw, "Hey, I don't want to be trapped in there again. I want to serve God." But no, he didn't. So anyone who he influences or deceives, they're going down right with him. They will be deceived until their downfall, which was described in Revelation chapter 19, verse 20. Let's look at the Pharisees again. The Pharisees were not repentant even after they had made the sentence of the Son of Man final in Matthew chapter 27, verse 25. There was no turning back. They were sinful until the time of their visitation, Luke chapter 19, verses 41 to 44. Essentially, the Romans came and destroyed their town, and they were sent out never to do their stupid Pharisee stuff again. They were of the devil, which was why they deserved that, according to John chapter 8, verse 44. Judas fell into the same boat. He was influenced by Satan, so he had to suffer the fate of Satan. And thirdly, Judas was prophesied to betray the Son of God. Now we're talking about prophecy, and prophecies can't be changed. As the psalmist said, "Yea, mine own familiar friend, in whom I trusted, which did eat of my bread, hath lifted up his heel against me." Psalms chapter 41, verse 9. As Jesus himself said, "Ye know that after 2 days is the feast of the Passover, and the Son of Man is betrayed to be crucified." Matthew chapter 26, verse 2. Jesus and the psalmist couldn't be liars, could they? Judas had to die so that what they said could be the truth. Think about the prophecies of Jesus Christ. Him coming down to perform the ransom in Isaiah chapter 53, verse 10, and Job chapter 33, verse 24. He couldn't just say, "No, I don't care about these prophecies. I'm not coming to earth so I can go die." Come on. No, he had to stick with it, go down, get killed, perform the ransom sacrifice. That's why it was said in Hebrews chapter 10, verse 7, "Then said I, Lo, I come. In the volume of the book it is written of me, to do thy will, O God." And that is where I'm going to stop with this Bible Q&A. Could Judas have been forgiven? No, because he killed the Son of God, he was used by Satan, and he was part of a prophecy. And prophecies must come true. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe.